Hello Blues, I hope you're well, I hope you're going to enjoy our show. We've got a bit of a preview for the Swansea game, but of course we talk about Liverpool. But before the show starts, a fantastic prize on offer. Get yourself over to our Facebook, YouTube, Twitter or Instagram feed. Go to the pinned post and you'll see that we are offering a signed shirt from our partners. It's $4.95 to enter. There'll be 99 tickets and a draw regardless of how many they sell. The draw is next Monday at 7:30. Good luck, got to be in it to win it, and come on City.
He can find Sterling again, he does. Sterling a bit of space on left wing, pulls it in the penalty box, beats one, Raheem Sterling, Foden, takes a shot, okay, Gundo in the back of the net, that is onside, Phil Foden, beats it against Alisson, rebounds into the path of Ilkay Gundogan, and he puts it in the back of the net. Get in! Again, pull ball, Bernardo Silva in the penalty box, Raheem Sterling in the back of the net! And that's going to be 3-1. He's not offside. 3-1 Manchester City. Alisson gives the ball away again. And City have made it 3-1. Getting Raheem Sterling scoring against his former club. Get in!
Can you just double check? Fucking hell.
City via the free kick. 15 seconds left to play. Liverpool 1, City 4 at Anfield. The hoodoo is going to end. If you say it.
2003. I remember
Under Kevin Keegan.
Oh! It's not over yet, Dan.
Oh, for God's sake. And the referee has blown his full-time whistle.
Hello Blues and good evening. Welcome to the Manchester's Blues show, the Monday night show. And we all got big smiles on our face. We've got Dave Roberts, we've got Brian. How are we doing, lads? Are we okay?
Oh, yes.
Very happy.
It's not a bad day today to be a City fan, is it?
Unbelievable.
What do you make of the game, Dave?
Just wonderful second half for me. That we just weren't really at it first half. I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah.
But Liverpool weren't either. And I don't think we were in any danger first half. But I don't know what he said at half time, but he just tweaked that little formation a little bit. You've got Bernardo a bit further forward. Had Foden, going on the right, and he just destroyed Robertson then for 45 minutes. It was absolutely incredible. It was. I just wish a crowd had been there to see it.
Oh, that would have been nice to have a few Blues in the background as well, wouldn't it? Crying out for it.
Yeah.
Oh, you're spot on. We'll talk about a bit more about Guardiola's tactics in his half-time team talk, which must have gone down well. Brian, what was your take on the game, pal?
The first half was exactly like I thought the whole game was going to be, quite tentative, a bit of handbags, really.
Yeah.
Not that much attacking, bit tentative. Exactly like I thought the whole game was going to be. It was only a minor tweak that he did at half time, but it was right. And then, we just purred that second half. They were just absolutely brilliant. And if only if it had played like that for the first half, there could have been. Oh, I dread to think what score that could have been if it would have been out like that from the start.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive, really. I mean, there's so much to talk about. Where do we start? I think Pep's tactics is a really good place to start. He mentioned in his post-match interview that he changed the formation at half-time, and obviously to counteract the threat that Liverpool had. Me and Dan mentioned on the when we were watching the game, the watch-along yesterday, that something needed to change, whether that was substitutions. But Pep Guardiola's got a fantastic knack of being able to re-energise and just do something a little bit different with the team before it comes on. I don't know what it was, but it really worked yesterday, didn't it, Dave? What were the big changes that you noticed in the game?
So I think we were very solid first half. Brian had it right. I thought it was, my prediction going in was 0-0. Not because I was being negative, just because I thought it was going to be that type of game. It was such a big game that I just thought it's just going to be handbags, as Brian said. But for me, the big change was Bernardo, second half. He got much further forward and they moved Foden out to the right. I think Foden, Guardiola said it afterwards. I think Foden felt a little bit lost in that false nine position. He's 20 and, remarkable player, but I don't think he knew exactly what to do. Whereas when they had Bernardo there or De Bruyne playing in that false nine, I think they've obviously got 5, 6, 7 years on Foden and more experience, and maybe we're a little bit cuter of what to do. But that was just the tweak. And what I really liked is that Guardiola has begun to do his tweaks and changes so much sooner than what he used to. The penny has dropped with him. We all used to complain that it used to be in the 88th minute when he'd bring a sub on, or when he changed his formation a little bit. When the game was crying out for it to be, 30 minutes earlier, he realised what was going on and he changed it at half time.
Yeah, just a quick one on that point there. Like, do you think that is down to his changing backroom stuff? Now, Arteta's no longer there. He was a bit of a yes man, isn't he, Arteta, really? I don't think he would have been one to question whether or not Pep should change stuff. But that new guy they brought in, which is like Pep's mentor over the years, sort of thing, do you think that's had sort of effect where he's like, if he's getting information like maybe now's the time to change, he's actually hearing it from somebody with some serious experience behind him, that might be the reason why he's doing these changes when he's doing them?
I think you could be right there, Brian. I think that's a really, really good point. I've not even really thought of that, to be honest. But I think we can all agree, last 2-3 months, that's definitely what's changed.
Yeah.
If a player isn't working in a particular position, he's changing them. If a player just isn't having a good game, thankfully we've got a bench that, okay, we're going to take them off and we're going to bring someone else on. Because I was screaming out to Tom on your YouTube that, what needs to happen is, maybe bring, I think what I was saying, Tom, wasn't it? I was saying bring Mahrez off, put Foden in Mahrez's place and bring Jesus on. And it's kind of what I know.
That's when the game changed. That's when the game changed, isn't it?
Yeah. It was just that little tweak that's all it needed. And from Guardiola not particularly doing tweaks earlier this season, now he's just doing them. I think you might be right. It might be that old experienced head he's got now in that assistant manager position of going, this isn't working. We're just
it seems like it could be somebody on his shoulder saying, reaffirming this might be the time to change. Yeah. Whereas I would have thought Arteta previously would have been like a bit frightened to stamp his authority by saying, Pep, this might be a time to make this change, where this guy might be saying, now might be the time to make that change. And Pep might already be thinking that. But to have that reaffirmed and he can see it, see the bigger picture, it might be part of it.
Are we thinking this is why we had a potential blip, because Pep and the players were getting used to the new voice in the back room? Could this have been a reason, do you think? Or do you think it's just because everything else that has happened in the last couple of months has just affected everybody?
For me, I don't see last season as that much of a blip. I think one thing you have to, looking at the bigger picture, is take out last season and the season where we won it and we went back to back. Then take them 3 seasons out. They are extraordinary point totals. So I don't think if we'd have played if last season, if Liverpool hadn't have been the way they were, it would have been a lot closer, and we'd have been finishing on 70 points. We'd have been in it a lot longer. It would have been an average season. That team would have been in it. I don't think last season Liverpool on so on show in comparison to the team that is so far ahead. You know what I mean?
It's funny, isn't it? Because during the game yesterday, Zinchenko, I think we noted several times that Zinchenko wasn't having the best game he's had. I think we were giving their wing backs, particularly Alexander-Arnold, it looked like their main threat going forward, which is obviously worrying from our point of view. But that change at half time, whatever he did, just seemed to reassure Zinchenko. It just seemed to reassure the defence as well, and we looked solid that second half. It was fantastic.
Yeah, he was getting run at a lot, wasn't he, Zinchenko?
Yeah.
They had a lot of possession on their wing backs. There was a lot of time when the ball was played out wide and they had space for into, and then they're always, as much as their front three is their best 3 players, I think the most effective players are their fullbacks. And where then they're in the final third, they're going to do a lot of damage if they've got time to pick a pass of these outstanding front three that they've got. So closing that down in the second half, and we did it really, really well. That stopped them from marauding past the halfway line like they did a lot in the first half.
It was like we brought our wingers into more of a 4-4-2 positioning, wasn't it? We kind of brought them back a little bit to help support our wing backs a bit more to be able to bomb forward. Hiya Tom, how we doing, pal?
Yeah, all good. Just listening in keenly. I think I'd said on Twitter yesterday at half time that I thought Zinchenko needed hooking. I thought he had a pretty poor first 45. It kind of seemed anywhere that Liverpool, the way that Liverpool were going to break through was going to be attacking through Salah down that right hand side. And like you say, credit to whatever Pep did at half time. Zinchenko looked a different player in the second 45. I think Cancelo seemed to drop a little bit deeper in that second half. We saw Zinchenko filling in that central midfield role a little bit more, which I think suits him. I think when he has to sit back and just do the defensive work like he was tasked with in the first 45, I do think he's a bit of all of our fullbacks. He is the one that's most susceptible to being ran at and sort of our weakest defensively. But yeah, like I say, massive credit to the way he turned it around in that second 45. I think he was one of our best players on the pitch in the second half, and I was happy to eat my words, having said at halftime that I thought he needed taking off, because at halftime, and I stand by that, I do think he did. But obviously, Pep's shown once again why he's such a genius by adapting that lineup just the tiniest bit in the second half, and we ran away with it. And like I say, not many teams can go and score 4 goals in one half at Anfield. I'd love to know the last team who did that, who scored 4 goals in 45 minutes at Anfield, because I bet you you'd have to go back a while to find it.
That's true. No, that's very true. We need to move on to we'll talk about the goals. Let's talk through the goals. And the first point we want to talk about is Gundo and the missed penalty for starters, because that I genuinely thought we weren't going to get many more chances after that, and I was deeply disappointed, because I said to Dan before, and I said on the podcast the other day, first goal in this game wins the match for me. I wasn't expecting it to be by so many, granted, and we'll talk about Salah's penalty in a minute, but what's going on with our penalties, lads? Why do we just seem to be able to throw it away when we've got a fantastic opportunity, even getting it on target? I don't believe in hoodoos, I don't believe in jinxes, all the rest of it, that's rubbish, but there must be something mentally, there must be some kind of mental block there.
You know, go on, mate, you go.
I'll say it's weird, because if that was an open play and the ball fell to any player at 12 yards out, you'd be expecting just to lever it home. Anyone in our team who's got a better time to hit the ball first time from 12 yards, even if there was people in the way, you'd expect them to be hitting a target. I think it just comes down to pure pressure of the fact we've missed a few, and then everyone knows we've missed a few, and you know they'll have talked about it. You know, you can guarantee that Mahrez has had a ribbon about it. You know, in the games, and you know, in training and stuff. So when we do get a penalty, it's like all that probably jovial banter about him being quite unreliable. The pressure's on there, isn't it? And we've had, was it 9 out of 17 penalties we scored? The last 9 out of 17 penalties. So it's a really bad statistic, really.
Not good.
The question is, who's the penalty takers then? Obviously, Kevin's when Kevin's in. Normally Gundogan, you'd stick some money on him, wouldn't you? But you know, who else is there to take one? Why is Phil not taking one?
Edison.
Well, yeah.
Like, we joke about it, and we joke about Edison taking penalties, but Pep said that Edison, I'm sure it's Pep or someone said
he's the best.
Edison's the best penalty taker at the club, and I'm not being funny. People, like, it seems weird to have the concept of the keeper taking a penalty, but the only reason that's an issue is if the keeper saves the ball and it remains in play. And let's be honest, Edison ain't going to be passing a penalty where the keeper's going to be able to catch it. And how often do keepers save penalties? If a keeper saves a penalty, how often is it that they pick the ball up and they're ready to start a counter-attack straight away? And even still, they've still got to get to the other end of the pitch and score, even if they do save the penalty.
Yeah, it's not like he's hitting the penalty straight down the keeper's throat, is it? And he's going to catch it in an open net, yeah.
They've still got the full length of the pitch to go. And if Edison's the best penalty taker at the club, I think, who was it in Spain? Maybe Eibar. Their keeper took a penalty against Atletico Madrid the other day and scored at 0-0 in the first half. And if he's the best penalty taker at the club, I don't see why we wouldn't let him have a go at taking penalties. Like I say, it sounds really strange to have a keeper taking them. But if he's going to hit the back of the net 9 times out of 10, I'd much sooner that than us miss 7 out of 18 or whatever it is that we missed of our last 18. So
I think there's a stigma. There's a stigma in here about a goalkeeper taking a penalty.
Yeah.
Like, you could be taking the mick out of the team. Like, it's not letting somebody, you're not taking it seriously. You know, if you were 8-0 up and you wanted to get your keeper to score, it's the last game of the season, then that sort of thing. But
well, the thing
it comes down to genuine ability. If it's down to genuine ability,
Yeah.
And there's going to come a time towards the end of the season, maybe in the Champions League game, maybe in the semi-final of the FA Cup, we're gonna get a penalty to score maybe in the last 5-10 minutes. We're gonna need our best penalty taker to step up there because it is going to be literally crunch time. So that is when you need somebody you need somebody who's Balotelli-esque, Yaya Toure-esque. You just know that when they step up, it's a foregone conclusion that unless the keeper dives in the top corner a goal's a goal, and that'll come down to we need that particular time for someone to score, and it has to be the best penalty taker. Now, we've tried everybody else.
Yeah, I'm dreading the League Cup going to penalties because I just don't know what we seem to be able to put away at Wembley, don't we? Because it's a bizarre one.
Penalty shootouts we win. How many penalty shootouts in a row have we won? We've won about 6 in a row, but when it comes to it in the game, and was it Halifax, or I can't remember who it was, you said it in the group chat the other day, that if we get a penalty in the say we get to the Champions League final and we got 10 minutes to go in a tight game and we win a penalty, there is not a chance that we are scoring that penalty. And if we go on to lose a Champions League final or a Champions League semi-final from a missed penalty, I couldn't live with that. Like, we need it's not a gimme, but you've got to be scoring penalties. And the only reason you should not be scoring penalties is if the keeper pulls out a worldy save. Because, like you say, Gundogan is probably the man on the pitch at the minute. From 12 yards out, you'd want the ball to fall to, because he knows where the back of the net is, like you were just saying then. So it is an issue, and thankfully it didn't cost us yesterday, but it quite easily could have done, as it has done on occasions this season. So we do need to sort that out very quickly, because it will end up costing us in a big way in a big game at some point down the line if we don't.
I was saying about the stigma side of things, and putting the disrespect to other teams about putting the goal. But if we're ever going to try Ederson as taking a penalty, there's no stigma behind it now, because we miss it. The outfield players are missing the left, right, and centre. If we're going to do it, now's the time to do it.
He's getting a chance to do it on merit. That's what it is. You're getting a chance to try one of your better penalty takers, and why not?
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? I can't. So I think we'll move on from that very quickly. Other side of the coin, Gundogan. Magnificent second half. He was a complete dynamo. He's got a fantastic footballing brain, knows how to pass, scored 2 great goals. Johnny in the spot, where he needed to be. I always wish Silva scored as many goals as Gundogan's scoring at the minute. That was one thing that was always missing from David Silva's goal ability for me to score as many goals. But Gundogan just seems to be brilliantly placed at the moment. Dave, what's your thoughts on Gundogan and taking over that position? And he's probably the first name on the team sheet now for Pep.
He really is. He's just absolutely phenomenal. He's always had it there. I think we're getting the player now that Pep bought from Dortmund before he got his injury. I mean, he was just absolutely sensational there. And there's been a lot of stories about how he's had to adapt his game and change his game since he came back from his knee injuries. But he's got the experience now. And he just, as you said, he's just got this phenomenal footballing brain. I think he was probably told to play a specific role in the first half. Went in at 0-0, and I think Pep said to him, right, go crush it second half and do what we know you can do. And I know one of them was somewhat a mistake, one of the goals, which we'll get to, but he was in the right place at the right time. This is very, very Frank Lampard-esque, isn't it, of just being right where he's meant to be. I mean,
yesterday was in the 6-yard box.
Game.
And 2 of his goals yesterday were in, 3 of our goals, but 2 of them were in the 6-yard box yesterday.
Yeah.
They were literally empty net tap-ins, really. And it's it's not often you see a central midfielder in that position for that amount of time.
No, he's just getting, he's like a fine wine, isn't he? He's just getting better and better, and he's obviously keeps himself fit. I've always been incredibly keen on German midfielders. They just seems to be the, if you want a midfielder from any country, you're probably going to think Germany first, because they're just workhorses. They just seem to understand the game really well from that position. I don't know why it is. Must be like, their education, from a schoolboy or whatever, but they just always seem to produce phenomenal midfielders, Germany.
It's brilliant. Tom, what's your thoughts on Gundogan? And he's got to be in line for Player of the Season for us, hasn't he? He's already won Player of the Month for Jan. So
Yeah, I said that myself on Twitter on Wednesday because I was at Burnley covering the game and just watching him. I think it's always been the thing with City is that we've, apart from obviously De Bruyne last year, we've always had it where we've got so many good players that no one really stands out. And I think that's, again, been the case for the large part this season. But in the last couple of months, Gundogan's just taken over completely. And I've always been I've never been a big fan of Gundogan. And I've said many a time on these shows that I've never been a huge fan of Gundogan. But I think he's now being used in the perfect way, in that
Exactly.
there's been so many times where he's been used as a 6 and he's not got the defensive capabilities for a 6, or he's been used as a player who's expected to create goals. Whereas now his role, he's not expected to do a load of defending. He's also not expected to create, because we've got Bernardo, we've got Kev, we've got Foden. And he's now just got this role where, and I echo what Dave says, in that he's very much Frank Lampard-esque, in which he can virtually do what he wants on the pitch and he can get where he needs to be. And with the exception of Frank Lampard, there's not been many central midfielders, and I don't mean like attacking midfielders, I mean like out and out centre mids like Gundogan, who just know where the back of the net is, and he's just always in that right place. And we've said about having a striker for years, who we need the next striker coming after Aguero to be in the box and know where these sort of spaces are. And Gundogan was in that striker position on 2 occasions yesterday inside the 6-yard box, where he should almost have an oxygen tank. He's that far up the pitch. Like, as a central midfielder, you should not be in the 6-yard box at that time. But he just has that brain, that knowledge of knowing where to be. And that is something that you can't... like, having that in the team is something that's just so important. And he's been such an important player for us this year. And if anyone is going to win the Player of the Year award from City, they'll probably give it to Fernandes, because that's just the way the Premier League works. But it should be, for me, the Player of the Year always has to come from the team who's won the league. And if we do go on to win the league, there's no player other than Gundogan who would deserve it more, unless someone goes on to have a crazy sort of 4-month period. Now, it would be Gundogan for me who'd win it.
Brilliant.
Agreed.
Well said. Well said. So we'll talk a bit about Bernardo now. With Pep's changes at half time, Bernardo was pushed, like Dave was asking for. Bernardo was pushed more up front once alongside Foden in that type of position. It was interesting to see he's got so much creativity and energy to burn and a passion for playing good football. Every time when he scores, and you see the stills of the cameras, the pictures afterwards, you can see his facial expressions. He loves every second of that goal going in, whether he scored it or somebody else. Dave, I want to lead your point, because you were hitting the charge for him yesterday, playing more up front yesterday. I'm losing superlatives for Bernardo. I love the lad. It's really hard not to like Bernardo Silva.
It is, because he obviously loves the club. We obviously love his reaction to doing the guard of honour with the cup of tea in his hand. I mean, that was just absolutely sensational. But he's had his dip. I think, Dan said on a few occasions that probably that whole social media storm that happened, it probably did affect him more than we think. But he's come back, and we've always known he's had that energy. And he's kind of like Gundogan, isn't he? He just seems to be getting better and better. That creativity, he's assisting. He would probably like to score a few more than what he's doing. But that's, me and Brian were talking about this last week with Dan as well, this whole false nine. And, these, basically we've got 3 forwards now who are playing false nine positions. And the defenders don't know who to pick up. They don't know what to do. And Bernardo and Foden and Sterling and De Bruyne and whoever, they must be loving that, because they're getting a little bit more freedom and time on the ball, because the defenders don't know who to pick up. So Bernardo, which for me was just sensational second half yesterday, just like the whole team were. He's another one for me who's one of the first on the team sheet, because not only is he a fantastically creative player, he's got an engine on him as well. You know he can score. He can play twice a week, no problem.
You know what, Dave? On that, right, I'm just going to pose the question to you. In 2-3 weeks' time, when Kevin De Bruyne is back fit, is he going to drop out, Bernardo Silva? Oh. Someone's going to have to give. Something's going to have to give.
Only, I think, from the standpoint of rotation, that I think one of the reasons we are doing very well this season is that Pep has got his rotations right of when to rest players, when to bring them in. And I think he seems to have realised that more than any other manager in the Premier League. I only think De Bruyne is going to get in when he comes back to give one of the other players a rest. And it's mental saying that when he's one of the top 3 players in the world, but how does he get in on current form? Only for me, from rotation.
Oh,
would you have him out on the wing on the right hand side to accompany him and De Bruyne in the same team? But by doing that, it means you're going to lose one of the front 3, which I've actually doing quite well recently, and that means Foden's potentially at risk then, for being dropped out to rehouse Kevin De Bruyne. It's certainly interesting.
It's a horrible cliche, but it's a nice problem to have, isn't it? And
I think the good thing is we've got a lot of games coming up. We're practically playing 3 games a week now.
There's going to be rotation, isn't there? Yeah. I want to talk about Sterling a little bit. We'll talk about him shortly. In fact, no, sorry, we'll do it now because we can kind of dovetail that into the position for where Bernardo does fit in when Kevin comes back. I wasn't that impressed with Sterling yesterday. First half, particularly, I thought he gave the ball away really cheaply. I don't like him being captain. There's something about him being captain and he doesn't perform, and I don't know what it was. Was he in the wrong position? Am I being too harsh there? Was he in the wrong position for what he can do best yesterday?
I couldn't disagree more. I think Sterling looked for large parts yesterday like our go-to man. I think he gave Alexander-Arnold all sorts of problems down that left-hand side, and I think that you look at his run for that first goal and his run for the penalty and things like that, it looks almost as though he's been told by Pep, look, when you've got the ball at your feet and you're running at players, that is when you're most dangerous. And yes, I don't mind if you give the ball away a couple of times doing that, because that's what we want you doing. We want you being more aggressive. And I think over the past sort of 4 or 5 weeks with Sterling, it's been frustrating seeing him with grass in front of him, but stopping and looking inside for a pass when we all know that, well, for me anyway, Sterling's best when he's running at players. And I think he did give the ball away a couple of times in that first half, and he's always going to give the ball away. That's just the way that he plays. When he's given that license to drive at players, you're not going to get past your man every time. But when he gets going, he's so hard to stop. And that penalty that he won was, again, just solely created by him. When he picked up the ball, there was no danger for Liverpool. And when he gets going, he's so hard to stop. And he cut inside so well to find Foden to create the opportunity for the first goal. And it was his sort of running and his pressing on Alisson that I say forced the error. It was awful from Alisson to give the ball to Bernardo, but him just being there and running directly at players caused so many problems yesterday that I actually think that was one of the best performances we've seen from him this season.
Could you sense the relief of him scoring at Anfield?
Yeah,
you could see the relief on his face. You could visibly see. Yeah. He's done it, and it's not just against Liverpool. He obviously needs to perform against these bigger teams.
Yeah.
But alluding to what Tom said there, it's nice. He has to run at players. He has to start running at players because I think he's had a bit of the old. I think he's been like. Let's be honest. When he's played against Wan-Bissaka, I think it's affected him.
Yeah.
Because them sort of defenders where they'll chase him all day, he seems to knock his confidence for weeks. Whereas yesterday, he's like, you know what, I'm up for this. I played with Trent, I played with England. I'm just gonna run him and try and skin him. And them sort of players going backwards, they're not the greatest. Yeah. Alexander-Arnold's brilliant on the ball, but he ain't a great defender. So you get Raheem Sterling to commit him, and he got a penalty out of it, and he skinned him to set Foden up to whose chance went to Gundo. Well, that's what you want Sterling doing. You want him affecting the game in the best possible way, and that is running at players. There's going to come a time when he's running into brick walls, but that's when you change things up rather than being so, not negative, but so cautious. I want him on the ball, running, trying to take someone on. If you get past him in the first 10, 15 minutes, you got him all day then. You have to be able to do that. And I think that's what he did to Alexander yesterday. He got the ball and he was like, I'm just going to run at you all day, run you into the ground. And that made them spaces then for the goals that we did score.
Agreed. Yeah.
Cool.
But Tom, to your point, captain material, I am surprised. I know it's because De Bruyne was out and, whatever else. Fernandinho, but I am surprised because I think we were spoilt. Let's be all honest. We have Captain Vinny, and are we ever going to get that again? I don't know. Is Diaz, maybe going to be that answer? But I don't see Sterling. I think what you're driving at is Sterling's not that vocal.
He's obviously does something right, and he's obviously one of the senior players in the back. I think
it comes down to being senior.
Players, yeah.
I think it comes down to being a senior international footballer. Is why he's played 400 games now. Played 400 games with a 25-year-old. That's a lot.
I also think he's probably our player who he's such a confidence player, and he needs that confidence to play well. And I think even if it's a case of Pep going, look, take the captain's armband and go out there and lead for us today, just that little extra bit of confidence that he gets in being given that senior role, I think is huge for him, because he's not been in the greatest of form over the last few weeks. But just knowing that Pep's got that faith in him, and he's gone, look, you're a really important player in this squad. Go out, be the captain today, go be the captain at Anfield and sort of go and end that Anfield hoodoo. And we've done that. Sterling's got his goal. We've won at Anfield, and it couldn't have gone better really yesterday as far as the game went, and as far as Sterling's 90 minutes went for me.
Brilliant. Right, little lad from Stockport want to talk about now. Phil. His goal was phenomenal. He wasn't even looking at the goal when he kicked that. He knew exactly what he was doing.
Yeah, he did.
But we'll talk about his performance in general, because I rang my dad and my uncle after the game, and they said that was almost like a coming of age performance. That was kind of like, he's been great this season, Anthony, but that was kind of like, he's done it against one of the European champions, Premier League champions, and he's absolutely torn them apart there. That for me for him is just like he's done. He's a City player. He's a regular City player forever now.
He's grabbed a game by the scruff of the neck, and it's not just any game. It's a game that matters.
Yeah.
Beyond all, it's by the biggest game of the season in the league. It's the one that matters the most. Was trying to go to Anfield and get a result, and to grab the game by the scruff of the neck like he did against world class players in Robertson. He turned Robertson inside out, and as much as he was like diminutive that first half against Fabinho and Henderson, he ran him around. He moved him around. His movement would have been annoying. Mentally having to mark someone with that little sprightly energy all the time. He wasn't that effective, but he was effective in doing what he was doing, which wasn't that much to see. But I guarantee you, he was like, they didn't know what to do with him, because he probably didn't know what he was doing himself, and that's probably the hardest thing to know about. If he doesn't know what he's doing, he's running around. How am I supposed to do anything about that? So for someone to step up, and it's like you see his shoulders were back and he was up for it. I mentioned a few weeks ago that these little mazy runs he does, and sooner or later one's going to ping in, and it did. It literally did. It rocketed in. And now he knows he can do that, and he's just going to open the floodgates, I think.
Dave, what's his ideal position?
That is a really good question. Based on yesterday, probably that right forward role. That's what I think. He absolutely tore Robertson a new one second half yesterday. It was just phenomenal, and I think Brian's right that now he's got that confidence of just dropping that shoulder and banging it. Like, that was past Alisson in the back of the net before Alisson even put his hands up. He hit it that hard. And it was just sensational. I would say right now it would probably be the right of that forward three if we're going to do it, and just get him like we're saying with Sterling, get him the ball and have him run. You just want the same with Foden as well. Get him the ball. What I also love about Foden as well is he doesn't lose the ball. So to Brian's point that he might not have had the greatest game the first half, he didn't lose the ball though. I have never seen someone with such a beautiful first touch.
For that goal as well, that deft left foot touch to make himself a goal. Brilliant, that.
Just caress it. That's probably like Henry is probably the one I closest to. I always admired for just the way he could bring the ball down and just have it under his spell immediately.
It was something Pep said. It was something Pep said in his first season about Foden. I think he said he's never seen such a young lad so confident at taking a ball on a half turn, which is something like your premium players like David Silva was doing when he was in his mid-20s, to late 30s, was taking that ball on a half turn, where you're already into your movement and the ball's at your feet every single time the ball comes to him. It's not like he takes a dummy touch, you know, it goes one way, bounce off his shin. Every single time he receives that ball, his body movement, and it's something we've seen with Sterling. He's always in the right place to go with the ball straight away, or let it run across him. He's always got that balance, and I think that's something that he's probably playing with David Silva for so long. It's something he's probably learned and watched. And for Foden to be doing that now at 20, you know, he's got such a good touch, and his pace. He's something that people talk about. Like, he's one of our fastest players. If he's up there, you know, you got that pace with the ball and the intelligence to receive the ball, and the fact that you let him shoot from 25 yards now, you're in trouble, because there's a good chance that he's going to go in.
I couldn't help thinking to myself yesterday about Foden after the game. I was just making a couple of notes for tonight that he's our Messi now, and he's just going to get better and better and better. And how's Messi going to fit into a team that's got Phil Foden in it that starts every game for me? And I was saying to myself yesterday, I can't believe I'm saying this, because you guys all know what I think about Messi and how much I want him at City, but I'm verging on the dark side by saying, actually, if he comes in, I don't want anyone to take any game time away from Phil, because I want to see him grow and thrive and do better.
He is a generational talent, Phil Foden. Players with the ability of Phil Foden come around once in a blue moon, for want of a better phrase.
Right.
I remember having a chat on air after the Liverpool game last season where we won at the Etihad. Was it 4-0? I can't remember what it ended. And Foden played on the right that night and scored. And I'd said after that game when we were chatting that there was sort of a Messi-esque feel about him that night. And obviously you've just touched on it then, and Dave said about him playing on the right. And I think he's the only sort of player that you can compare him to in his style of play, in that he's so good with the ball at his feet. And even like Dave said, he doesn't really give the ball away. And like the first goal yesterday, it came where he took a bad touch and he moved so quickly to recover the ball and get it out to Sterling. And even for that second goal where he obviously he collected the ball from Alisson from the poor clearance, but his first touch there to create this space for him to then fly past Robertson and put the ball into the box. It wasn't like it was handed to him on a plate and all he had to do was roll it across the box. But even his footballing brain to know that, like, he's just so good. And I honestly, I think he's a player that England need to build the team around. He's a player that City need to build the team around. And people question Pep so much when Foden first started breaking through. Why is he on the bench? Why is he not playing Foden? Foden's this, Foden's that. He needs to be starting. And Pep bided his time with Foden, and he waited and he waited, and he brought him in and he took him out and he brought him in. And people saying he needs to be playing every week. Foden's going to leave. He's going to get upset with like a game time. And now Pep's showing how well he's managed Foden, that he's giving a little bit of game time there. He's letting fine tune his game. He's obviously been working so hard and so much off the pitch. And now that he's finally ready and he's letting him loose, he's just unstoppable. And to think that a 20-year-old can go to Anfield and single-handedly pretty much tear apart the reigning Premier League champions and European, like a team that includes people who've won the Champions League sort of 12 months ago, 24 months ago, and he's gone there and he's just tore him apart. He made Robertson look like he was still at Hull City 10 years ago, and he's so good, and he's going to be this kingpin for this City side for as long as he wants to be. And hopefully, like I said, that'll be his full career. And if he does stay at City for his full career, there's sort of sky's the limit for how far he can go, because he is an absolutely incredible footballer.
I'm looking at a picture now. Sorry to interrupt, Dave. Come on 1 second. I'm looking at a picture now of Javi Garcia, I think it is, and Sun Jihai walking out onto the pitch at the Etihad. And in front of him, I don't know who the player is, but there must be a 7 or 8 year old Phil Foden as the matchday mascot coming onto the pitch. And I'll share this on the social media later. And I tell you, I love that shit. That was brilliant for me. Absolutely fantastic. We're going to say, Dave.
Sorry, go on, Dave.
Yeah, I've said all along I don't want Messi. I don't think he fits into our team. Like you're under. You have to build your team around Messi if Messi comes and plays for you. We don't need him. We've got De Bruyne, we've got Bernardo Silva, we've got Foden, we've got Sterling. I'm not saying they're as good as Messi, But who do you drop out of those kind of players to put Messi in? I think he's a wonderful player, but that would be a money thing for me. And I've said all along that my overriding concern with getting Messi is that's our striker. Every City fan needs to be aware that if we bring Messi in on 400-500 grand a week, which is what he would want, you can kiss goodbye to Nunes or Haaland or whoever, Mbappe, whatever striker you want, because that's where all of our money goes. I don't want him.
Surely everyone must admit now that Haaland over Messi is the main priority for us. I think there's any City fans that would disagree with that. Is there in the world? Surely not. Oh yeah. Go on, Brian. Tell me why.
It's a conversation of a time in depth about Messi, but I mean, I think we should all, when Messi finally hangs up his boots, we'll be very lucky to have witnessed somebody play like that in our lifetime, because there won't be anybody like Messi for a while. And he's spurred on by Ronaldo. Those two, I would say that Messi and Ronaldo would not have been no way near as good as they are if they didn't have each other to play alongside.
Agreed.
So to have, even if it's just for 2 seasons, to have Lionel Messi wear a City shirt, and we will be forever in that guy's history as arguably the world's greatest ever player, I think that is worth more to us as a club and marketing and all that sort of stuff than it is not to get him. It's the only reason to get him is to have that. And it's not like we're getting somebody who's 38 and he's like playing his last 6 months before he retires. This guy's still in his peak. I watched him last night. He came on as a sub, changed the game. They were 1-0 down, he won. So he's still got that in there. But like Dave says, if he does come, we guarantee you there'll be no number 9. We'll be playing false 9s every week. We will be having Messi. The team will be built around Messi, and whether or not you can stomach that for a year or 2, I mean, I can. And having you see the sort of influence that players like Yaya Touré and Vincent Kompany and David Silva and Aguero will have had on the younger generation at our club. Imagine the sort of impact that will have on City for years to come. Not just off the pitch, but on the pitch as well, in terms of like how much will Phil Foden have looked up to Lionel Messi when he's 10 years old playing FIFA. Messi's the GOAT. You know what I mean? How to have that player in your ranks and to learn from him, even if it's just for 18 months, to have Phil Foden playing with Messi is more valuable to him than it is to see Lionel Messi go and play for Paris Saint-Germain. We need this as a club to say this is our statement, and that's where I am with the Messi thing. We need him. The money doesn't matter.
I was just going to add to that as well. Like Phil Foden had said about, obviously David Silva was his idol, and that's who he sort of training and playing with David Silva as a kid. And obviously when he first came through, he was more of a central midfielder, and now he is adapting to that sort of right wing role where obviously Messi has ruled the footballing world for sort of a decade. And that I very much agree with those 2 points, and that's my stance on Messi as well. Is in terms of taking the club to the next level globally, Messi coming to the club would enhance that and speed that up by 100 times. And just purely for the fact of players who will learn from him. My only issue with Messi is that he's not going to be a player, I don't think, who's going to be happy to come to City and be rotated. And I don't think on the wage that we pay him, we would want to rotate him. And it's a case of we've got the thing with the squad at the minute is there's not sort of any egos in there. And I'm not saying Messi has an ego, but I'm saying that all the players that we've got, the forwards that we've got, are sort of happy to play a couple, sit one out, play one, miss 2, play 3. And that's what sort of works with this team, and why we're always fresh and why we're always on top of the opposition is because we've got so many players who will rotate in and out. And I don't think Messi would do that, and I don't think he'd want to. If he's being told by PSG, come here, we'll start you every week and you'll be the main man in the team, and he's then being told by City, come here, but we might rest you here and we might play you there. If he's happy to do that and come to City and be that sort of player, then I'd have no qualms with it. But if he's going to want to come and play every week, I just don't know if he'd be able to do it. And I don't know.
I think it's the end. It's the perfect end to his legacy. If you think about Ronaldo started basically United and went up to the top, and they've always been together. Imagine Messi comes to the Premier League and he absolutely destroys team for 18 months. for himself. I think there's something in his mind that he's always been this one-man club, and then Ronaldo's been this club. I think he'll know that. He doesn't have to have an ego, but inside him he'll know. I'm hungry to go to City and I can prove it. I can do it in the Premier League. I mean, let's be honest, he showed he could score against Premier League teams for fun in the Champions League, so him coming here to fit in, it wouldn't be a problem. And I think having a hungry Lionel Messi come to us in that stage of his career to go out of a bang, I think, like Tom says there, it's a no-brainer.
Oh, this is a conversation for another day, and I get the feeling we're going to have it on more than one occasion as well. Oh, you've kind of sold me into that. You've kind of come back on myself there. I'm not going into it. We're not going into it. Not going into it now. Right. Rumours on the transfer. Not the rumours, excuse me. I do apologise. Not transfer whatsoever. How would you lads feel about Fernandinho entering the backroom staff? Dave, I'm going to come to you because you seem to champion the bit for legends taking over in the back room somewhere. What's your thoughts on Dinho stepping into the breach with Pep's management team?
I would absolutely love that if that's a possibility. I think Rodri has improved significantly over the last 12 months. I think he's having a good season. I think a lot of that's down to Fernandinho and him learning that role. I think that will be sensational for him. Everyone, if you talk to any professional, they will all say how good Fernandinho is and a really good football brain, like a nice guy as well. I think I've read quite a few reports on him that he's a real kind of man manager as well, and really will put his arm around, players in the dressing room and maybe, not firing. I think, Fernandinho, Zaba, for me, I would love both of those two legends in back room at the Etihad, definitely.
You can see it as well, can't you? Because he's got his family around Manchester and things like that. With Sergio, not so much, because he's obviously had that wish to go back home, and his family still lives back in Argentina. So not so much with Fernandinho. There generally seems a love of Manchester and all things Britain. So yeah, I could genuinely see that happen. But we'll see. We shall see. We shall see. Anyone else got anything to add to that before we move on?
Yeah, I mean, we've always had our inverted commas legends, at the club, in some capacity. They've always been somebody lurking around, haven't they, in some sort of form. But the sort of legends we're talking about now, those are the ones that their medals and their appearances for City are up there with the best we've ever had. So to have somebody like Fernandinho, Zabaleta, these guys behind the scenes, like even Julian Lescott works on the staff, and he's had a really good City career. He's there, and the players looking up to him, and they'll be thinking, well, look at Lescott, he's been here, and look at Fernandinho, look at Zabaleta. These guys, they've been there and done it, and they're still breathing and living the club. Having those sort of influential people in the backroom staff, it only strengthens that youngster into the under 23s to the team. It only strengthens that route by saying, look, Fernandinho was here when City signing when I was 13, and now he's coaching me. Look at that. How does it feel to be in the City team? And it's there to be seen. You can see it, you can grip it, and they can tell you the stories, and they just show by their aura and what they've achieved that they are City through and through. And keeping those guys around is so valuable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
can't disagree with that. Yeah, can't disagree with that. Right, okay, moving on swiftly. How does the title picture fit for you guys at the moment? You know what I'm like. I'm not going to put anything on record from my point of view. 5 points clear, game in hand. Long way to go. Where are our threats coming from?
I think Brian, we had a call last week, Brian and I and Dan. I think Brian summed it up really, really well. So I'm going to let Brian just say his opinion.
We talked about how up to yesterday, we'd had 6, 7 quite easy games-ish, which we've won them all, and kept clean sheets in most of them. But now our next 6 fixtures, which takes us to March, include probably four of the top 6, home and away. And that's even shock Arsenal. We've got Everton, West Ham, United, Tottenham, Arsenal. These are teams in the top 8. We've had our easy run of fixtures. We're now up against our toughest run of fixtures. So in that, if we can come out the end of this with, I said last week, if we come out of this with 5 wins out of 6, it's now 4 wins out of 5. If we can come out of that with 4 wins out of 5, that means that those teams that are in and around us, the Man United, your Chelseas, your Spurs, your Leicesters, we've played them. You know, we've not got many fixtures left against them, so that our tough little run away, they've got to play each other. So the 6 pointers we've got, if we can come out of that with 4 wins out of those, that puts us in a really good position where they're going to be one team. They can't all win games, you know. So the pressure that those teams are going to be able to put on us is they've got to beat each other. So I think this next four fixtures, which I think looking at this now takes us up to, is it the derby on the 6th of March? After that, you could argue that our fixtures are a lot easier. So come that weekend, come the weekend of the end of the 6th of March, I think we'll know if we can keep the same gap we've got now. Come to that period, I think that will be we've done really, really well to maintain where we're up against, and then that gives us a nice platform to win the season on.
We've obviously got Swansea in the FA Cup on Wednesday night, but then we play Spurs on Saturday, which is a 3:30 kick-off. I've started to really dislike playing Spurs. I don't know why, but it's probably a good time to be playing them at the moment, is it not? Saying that Harry Kane's just come back, scoring as well.
I was just going to add to what we just said there. I think our biggest sort of rivals now is just ourselves. I just think if we just don't overthink anything, just keep doing what we're doing, and just continue to play. And I know that's easier said than done, but if we can just continue to rotate, everyone coming in, going out, just continue to do what we're doing and not overthinking things, not as soon the minute Aguero's back fit, chucking him back up front because we've got a striker fit. Just continuing to do what we're doing. And like we said before about, does De Bruyne come back in? Does whoever come back in when they fit? Just keep the strongest team playing and continue to play the way we are. I don't think that any other team has the capacity to go on a run where they're going to win 7-8 fixtures in a row. And I also can't see us losing. At the minute, I can't see us losing, period. But by the end of the season, I can't see us having lost more than 1 or 2 more games. And I just can't see how United or Liverpool or Chelsea or anyone goes on a run where they're not going to drop points. And I think if we do drop points, if we're dropping points sort of drawing against Spurs, where Spurs are also dropping points, or we're dropping points drawing against Everton, who then are also dropping points themselves, so long as we don't give up points to the lesser teams per se, I just honestly can't see how there's any way we don't win this league by 10, 12 points. I just think we are by far and wide the best team in the league. We're the best team in Europe at the minute. No team is playing the way that we're playing and winning games and not conceding goals. I just think, and I hate to say it, I just can't see any way that we don't win the league from here. I really can't.
Well, the last 10 games are anything to go by. We've won 10 on the bounce. Southampton, Newcastle, Chelsea, Brighton, Palace, Villa, West Brom, Sheffield United, Burnley and Liverpool on the bounce.
So if we were to get to that point where we're on 28 games and say we've won 4 of the next 5 or 4 of the next 6, we'd only have to theoretically maybe not lose 3 of those games going towards the end of the season, you know, and that's what it comes down to. It comes down to we might not win these games or we might draw a few, but it comes down to the last 10 games. Are we going to lose 5 of those last 10 games? And is a team going to come out of that pack and beat each other and during those runs string together 8 wins? Because that's what it's going to take for those guys to win it. And I just like Tom says there, I don't bar Chelsea who are keeping clean sheets and under a new system actually looking all right. The other ones, I just don't think they're up to it. They've not, you know, they can win a game, they can draw a game, and then they might lose 2 in a row, and then that's 8. That's like 4 games they played, and they've only gained 3 points out of it. So,
and it's our adaptability for me as well, which is massive. You look at teams like United against Sheffield United a couple of weeks ago, and I know we dropped points against lesser clubs this season, but and Liverpool against Burnley and Brighton and things like that. These teams struggle to break down the lesser teams, which is what we've now started to do. And our adaptability to change the way we play in the bigger games, like yesterday, to change at half-time the system just that little bit and sort of put that extra man a bit further forward and give Zinchenko a bit of a different role. the players we've got and the ability that these players have to be able to play completely differently against Liverpool on Sunday compared to how they played against Burnley on Wednesday, we've got something to match every single game. And this is why I can't see any other team catching us. I really can't. The way we're playing at the minute and the way that other teams are struggling to get on any sort of consistent run. Like I said, I've gone on record here. This is on social media. If we don't win the league, I'm going to look like a right prat. But I just genuinely can't see how we don't win the league and how we don't win the league by a double point margin. I really do think that we're come May, we'll have won the league by 12 plus points. I really do.
We've got 16 games. We've got 16 games left.
Yeah,
it's not a lot, is
not
it?
Many. Nope.
Crikey, Charlie, lads. This is... it's going to get to the tail end of the season, isn't it? It's going to get really serious really quickly in the next month.
I think a lot of the managers
as well. We've got world class players like Aguero. I mean, he's a football man. He'll be chomping at the bit to come back. How many games he played this season? 5. I think it's 5, right?
Yeah.
Maybe not. He will be seeing where we are in the league and seeing how we're playing. He will be chomping at the bit to come back. You know, we've got one of the best strikers of all time to come back into the team. We've got one of the world's best players who's coming back from injury in De Bruyne to come back into the team. Like, these other teams, Premiership, Champions League, whatever, they've got to be shitting themselves. Like, they're this good without Aguero and De Bruyne. It's unbelievable.
Take Bruno Fernandes out of United's team, and where are they? And we take Kevin De Bruyne out of our team, and we've just gone and won 4 games in a row and battered Liverpool 4-1 at Anfield. You know what I mean? Like, take Van Dijk out of Liverpool and they've capitulated. Take Bruno Fernandes out of United. Take whoever out of whoever. We are just, our strength in depth is a joke. To have a squad as good as we have is ridiculous.
I think what Tom's saying there is like our 25-man squad, which this season you have needed to use 25 men.
Yeah.
You know, there's been times where you've had to use a second string 11 3 days later. You know, we only could get a team of 14 against Chelsea. We've been down to the bare minimum and we've still had a really good team. You look at the other teams like Liverpool who are struggling with any kind of defenders. They're not ready for an injury crisis in these teams, are they? And I think that's where our strength was finally shown in our squad depth. Because arguably there is teams, Liverpool's team in the last couple of years on paper, that starting 11 was probably as good, if not better than our team at times. But it comes from that you lose 1 or 2 players, a couple, having to rotate out and bring a few in. We just look strong. I don't think there's any kind of weak player that you can put in our team and think, boy, we're a bit weak there, aren't we? He's not too great, is he? You know, we're missing our 2 fullbacks today, or we've got no strikers. What we're going to do? Well, we've found a way. We found a way every single time.
Agreed.
Crikey. Heard a story about Phil Foden the other day. He was going to be presenting something on stage, an award in Stockport, and no one could find him. Or the person that had got him the gig to come in and present the award to whatever it was for a young kids award, went outside to the car park and found him playing football with a load of young lads. Brilliant, that, isn't it? It's just I love. I don't think you can't love him anymore, really, can I? I forgot about that. I just saw it pop up on my timeline.
Another thing, just quickly on Phil Foden before we go on to whatever else, is I don't know if you guys have noticed, but if you look at the way he holds himself as well, sort of in post-match interviews and stuff, from the start of the season to now, you can see the maturity in him as the season's gone on and the confidence that he's gaining from these minutes he's getting and the performances he's putting in. He's sort of, over these last 12 months, evolved from a rising talent who has the potential to be this star to someone who now firmly believes that he is a star and that he will go on to sort of run this City team for years to come. And it's just so refreshing to see him just getting more and more confident off the pitch in the way he holds himself, as well as obviously when he's just.
If you look back at the interviews over the season, you are putting a microphone in front of a young kid. You can see it. Yeah. You can see he's fidgety, he's touching himself, and he's repeating the same phrases over and over. And then you go to the interview last night, and to get the praise he got off Roy Keane post match, he said I was just as impressed with his interview than I was his on the field display. That shows that the maturity levels are they are going higher and higher, and he's getting the praise not only for his ability, but his character. You can see it building, can't you? He's flourishing.
Brilliant, isn't it? Right, we'll move on quickly, lads. We're going to talk quickly about the Swansea game on Wednesday night. R5 kickoff for some reason. Tom, I'm assuming you're not making your way down to South Wales, pal, for this one.
No, I wanted
Why?
to. Obviously, I was down there for uni, and I've been to watches at Swansea a couple of times, so I wanted to go down. But like you say, when you see it's R5 on a Wednesday night,
yeah, all right, thanks, mate.
I'll be giving that a miss for sure. But it should be a good game. They playing good football, Swansea. They're doing well in the Championship. Had a good win over Norwich at the weekend, and they're like I say, I've done a bit of work with them over the past couple of years whilst I was at uni, and they've got a really good manager, and they play the right sort of football, and they've got bigger priorities in the FA Cup. They're still in the hunt for a automatic promotion spot in the Championship, and they're not going to come on Wednesday. We're not going to go to them on Wednesday, and they're not going to try and sit 11 men behind the ball and get a 0-0 and try and take us to penalties or nick it in extra time or whatever. They will be coming on Wednesday, like we saw when we played them in 2019, and we were quite lucky to get through.
2-0 down then, or 1-0 down?
Yeah, 2-0 down. We had a
2-0 down.
goal and a really dubious penalty, and we were really lucky to get through that day. But they played proper football that day, and I think, if I'm not wrong, I think it was Graham Potter in charge at the time. But they've always had at Swansea this sort of mentality that they'll play football the right way, and they will play football, and they won't like Cardiff do, stick a target man up front and hoof the ball long, and they will do that on Wednesday, and it should make for a really entertaining game. But like I say, they have got bigger priorities in this automatic promotion run. They will likely rest a couple of players with one eye on what's going on in the league, so we shouldn't have many issues getting past them, but it should make for a good game of football.
Agreed.
Dave, what's your thoughts, mate? How do you think we're going to get on? What do you think? What changes are we going to make? What changes are we going to make?
I think you'll see Garcia play, probably. I just wanted to point out, I did appreciate Garcia's reaction, when we won that game. He's celebrating with everyone else. I know he wants to go to Barcelona, I get it. But he's still a City player at the end of the day. And yeah, he was celebrating just like everyone else yesterday, and I appreciated that. I think Stefan might get a start as well. He's not really done anything wrong when he has come into the team. Apart from that, maybe give Foden a rest. Maybe. But we never know with Pep, do we? We never know. The one thing's for sure, Diaz will probably play, because he doesn't seem to ever want to rest Diaz, which is somewhat of a surprise. Maybe Laporte will come in. Maybe.
Because Diaz is a robot. He charges himself at night and he's ready to go again. He's not like a human, that man. He's an absolute machine.
Did he see him pulling Zinchenko?
Penalty.
Throwing him like he was a rag doll.
Grabbing him and pulling him along.
Dragged him across the floor. He's great.
Does like a sign off that? Does that annoy anybody else? That lying behind the wall?
Well, we could blame.
There's only ever been like two free kicks in the history of time that I've ever gone under the wall. We
could blame Kevin De Bruyne.
Yeah, Kevin De Bruyne, yeah, but like, come on,
Cardiff, weren't it?
Come on, it's not that about.
I'd rather now I know it can happen. I'd rather have somebody there, and to be honest, I did that in Power League.
Although I bet you they hit him a bit harder at you lay on the floor in Power League.
Absolutely, yeah. I wasn't facing the ball, put it that way. They never scored. Right, come on, let's get
Torres is due a good game on Wednesday. I think Torres will play. And I think Torres will be a big player on Wednesday for us.
Yeah, I think Torres and Jesus will start.
Yeah,
they'll start.
Maybe see one of the kids in, although they didn't look amazing in the last round, and they didn't. Well, not shout themselves in glory, but it was sort of when the kids came off and the experience came on that we sort of got through the.
I don't think you'll see too many changes from.
No, like you say, I think Jesus, Torres, Laporte, Stefan, Walker will play.
Will come back in, yeah.
Fernandinho, yeah.
These sorts of names that would be starting for any other Premier League side, and we're saying, oh yeah, we'll give Walker a game because he's had a rest, and Ferran Torres, that crap young kid from Spain. We'll give him some minutes. It's only Swansea. It's like we've been rambling on about. The strength in depth that we've got is a joke, and that's why we do so well in all of these cup competitions.
Right, lads, before we nip off, predictions, please. Wednesday night, Swansea. Brian, you can go first, pal.
I'm going to just go with 2-0, comfortable 2-0. That'll do me, because Swansea are playing quite well at the moment, so I'll take that.
Okay, Dave?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Brian. I mean, we're just so solid defensively. Diaz will be so annoyed at the penalty decision. I can't see him letting one in for a while now. I'll go 2-0 as well.
Nice. Go on, Tom.
It's going to sound really boring, but I'm also going to say 2-0.
Oh, clean sweep.
It just seems like one of them games where it's not going to be a great spectacle. We'll probably score early and nick another one in like the 70th minute and just sort of cruise our way through to the next round.
You do know.
Guaranteed
you do know
4-4 now, isn't it?
Yeah, Swansea's going to score first now. We know this.
Yeah,
first
it's
2
written
minutes.
now.
Guaranteed 4-4 draw, an absolute thriller of a game.
Do you know, all this thing about Alisson and the mistakes, I can just see Eddie doing something absolutely bonkers in the first 10 minutes on Wednesday night. I don't know why. I've just got this niggly feeling that I just want him to stay in his penalty box. Nothing stupid. Let's just be professional.
Well,
I tell you what,
let's just make sure he doesn't have cold feet.
Hey!
It makes you realise, though, doesn't it? Speaking of Alisson, Edison plays like that every single game, and Edison's probably dropped about 3 bollocks in 5 years at City. He had that one at Anfield when we got beat 4-3. He had the one for McTominay where he scored when we got beat at Old Trafford. And he does this all the time, week in, week out. And Alisson drops 2 in 90 minutes, and he doesn't play it playing out the back goalkeeper.
Yeah.
He dropped 3 in 2 minutes because he nearly got another from it, didn't they? So it just goes to show how ridiculously good Edison is and how his mentality to be able to do that and know that the potential for stuff like that to happen, and for him to very, very, very rarely concede from playing out from the back parley. He's so good.
Yeah.
He's just so good at football. And now I've said that, like you say, he'll drop a huge bollock on Wednesday and we'll get beat 3-0. So it's written. But, we got to sing his praises while we can.
Brilliant. Yeah. Right, we're done, lads. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching the Manchester's Blue Shirt. Anything to add before we leave?
I don't think so.
Lovely. Right, come on, City.
Okay.
16 games left in the Premier League, lads. We've got the League Cup final to come against Spurs in a couple of weeks. And we've got the mighty Swansea on Wednesday night. Come on, City. Thanks very much, boys.
City.
See you later, guys.
See you, boys. See you in a bit.
See you later, City till we die.